It's only my third time ever painting a car, so cut me a little bit of slack here. I'm still learning. When you only paint once every couple of years, you tend to forget some things. Hey Fearless Mods fans, what is up? It's Biff and we are back in the Fearless Mods garage working yet again still on our 2005 Nissan Titan LE Crew Cab 4-wheel drive. And we, in the last episode, finished wet sanding this entire thing, getting off all of the adhesive and finishing up the frame restoration, if you will. And so now we are on to the final stages of paint prep. We have rock chips, and those are the only areas really where there's any rust, is in those rock chips. So we're gonna get after the rock chips, get them sanded out, primed, body filler, sanded down, and then we'll be ready to get this thing taped up and wash all the dust off of it so that we are ready to start laying some paint. If you're really excited about body work like I am, then this is your episode. Stay tuned. Looking real close at the hood here, you can see where these rock chips are and how they have just a little bit of rust inside of them. Bigger chip, more rust. So we have a few areas like that. There is an area up here on top of this, which might be kind of hard to see. There are some areas right here that have a little bit of rust right along the edge of the top edge of this windshield. So I do want to get in there and see if I can get those sanded a little bit and down to some bare metal and treated. Other than that, I mean, it's rock chips, dings that we had on the edge of the bed that might still have just a little bit of rustiness left behind there for us to use the wheel on just to make sure that it doesn't come back through. But those were just chips that had rusted. And then the only rust we had that looked like it was coming from underneath the body is right here on this wheel well. But when we sanded it, it just kind of looks like there's rust there. So we'll get the grinding wheel after that, see what it looks like underneath there, and get after the rest of these. Get them filled with some body filler, as well as our places where the paint has come off. Also finding our small dents. And yeah, we'll go from there. We've got all these spots, the major rock chips all ground out. A couple dents highlighted here so we can sand those. There's not a lot along here, but you did see me working up here. There were actually a few more places along there that I just kind of got the wheel in there from the side to get in there and get a cut on it. We'll get some primer in there on it so that it protects it, but also all of our areas where the paint had been peeled back. We've got a good scuff sanded edge there so that we can clean that up and get the primer and then body fill in it. A couple of little dents here that we got. Some more chips here and there. A couple rust spots where we got the rust completely ground out. So that's good. I mean, when you consider how bad this frame was, the fact that this body doesn't have rust anywhere on it, and the areas that did have rust, it's not through. I'm pretty impressed, and I don't understand what Toyota did right on the body that they didn't get right on the frame. We are ready to take some wax and grease remover and go over those areas that we just scuffed so I can get some primer on them, and then we'll be ready for some body fill. Self-etching primer. Everything has been ground in. We have got our primer on there with the etching, self-etch. So now we're ready to go ahead and start putting in some of our putty. So let's go ahead and mix up some body filler. So we've got body filler on pretty much everywhere we need to. I'm not great at this, I'm no expert, so I am just going to let it dry, and then we'll get the block sander out and try to see if we can make this stuff look good. And then we can apply a little bit more if we need to anywhere. There's obviously gonna be some really hard areas to sand. I'm gonna have to be really delicate with, like around that windshield, to try to shape them correctly. But these big flat areas are gonna be pretty easy. Over the curves on the bed and around some of the wheel wells, also a little tricky. But we got plenty of flat areas we can work on. The front of the hood looks like it has a lot, but it is pretty flat. So let's let this stuff dry and then we'll get to sanding it. We actually have some 400 grit sanding discs for the orbital sander so we can work on the flat areas. Let's go ahead and get to it and start sanding some of this down. Switch to 100 to knock down the major parts of the surface. So we'll get in there with the 400 to give it the final smooth. 400 was just taking a little bit long. It's doing a great job. It's just taking a little bit too long. So we'll see what we can do here to keep moving this along. Is about as much as I can do with the DA, and so I don't think I took off more than I should have in most places. There might be a couple. I also found a couple spots that I missed filling. Here, over here, a couple that I need to fill a little bit more, but for the most part we are feeling pretty good. It's a little deceiving when you run your hand over it, because if you're pushing, your skin sticks to these areas different than it does the paint around them. If you just glide smoothly over it and let the dust take care of it, you can feel a little bit more the high spots, like right here. I need to work on this one a little bit. I even got up here around the edges pretty good. The top surface is pretty good. It's just that front little edge I'm going to need to get in there with just a little more sandpaper and try to get those a little better. But honestly, aside from that one, which is kind of caked in, they're going to be pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and fill those additional little spots that I need to fill, and we'll get back over them with the sander. That top edge up there is to use a couple of these and just wrap a little bit of the sandpaper around it and just kind of work it in there with a fine point to see if I can get that sanded down. This is actually turning out really good. I'm really happy with how it turned out. When we retape it, we'll make sure we get in there really good with the paint. I do have one little spot over there that I do need to put a little bit of fill in. I got a couple little spots here and all over that need a little bit of a retouch, or they got missed. So I'm gonna get those real quick, and once we sand those, we're done. Okay, well thankfully it's warm enough today that I can have the garage open with the fan trying to blow some of this stuff out, because oh my goodness, there is so much dust in here. This is why you wet sand and not dry sand, but for the body work, hey, you know. Turning this stuff black now will allow us to give it a couple days to dry so that we can then scuff it with the 400 grit or whatever before we then clear coat the whole thing. Because remember, the doors are gonna be done last, so they'll be under plastic drying, which will be fine while we work on the rest of the cab and the bed. And then when we come back to do this, we'll be able to just tape off the black areas, paint the rest of the doors, and then clear coat them to finish it up. We still got a lot more to go. We've got this grill that we're gonna turn this silver. We're gonna be doing some logo stuff on that and all of the lettering here. Boy, look how dusty it is. That's what I'm telling you about, man. It is insanely dusty in here. My poor bike and everything in here is just completely covered. But we also have other pieces, the bumpers, the mirrors, the hatch for the back, and the filler cap here. I just kind of want to get everything done on the truck so we can get it back on its wheels and out of here before I start working on all that other stuff, and I could use the room to do that. So, front sanded, new hole here sanded, this part done and sanded, new hole here done and sanded, part up top that we missed whenever we were doing all of the windshield stuff right here on the tip, done and sanded. So that means we are done with the bodywork and the sanding on the truck. That gets us to the next phase of getting the truck painted. In order to do that, we're gonna have to get this thing cleaned up, which means washing it in here. So we got a lot of cleanup to do in here. So we have room to paint, cover things up, get this washed, get all the nastiness out of here and settled out of the air so it's not falling into our paint, even though it is a garage paint job. So no time to waste, let's get to it. Okay guys, new day, beautiful outside, and oh my gosh, inside this is ridiculous. Wow, there's just so much dust in here. And we're definitely gonna have to get this blown out, and I don't want it to be blowing all around while I'm trying to paint the truck. Now, that said, I do want to get those side strips painted black like we talked about. So what I'm going to do right now is just the 10-second tidy to clear this off so I can get myself a paint bench, get all my paint mixed up and ready to go. We'll clean all this up later and wash it out before we paint so that this stuff's not all floating in the air. But for now, we're going to let it just set. There's such small areas. I'm not overly concerned, even about having the door shut necessarily. Might leave it open for ventilation. Cleaned off good enough here to where we can work. Got our spray gun here, our cups ready to go. The next thing I'm gonna do is just get on here and start to go ahead and wipe these down with wax and grease remover to get them good and clean, and start taping that off so that we have our workable area before I start mixing paint. We are taped up and revealed. I'm going to hit this with the wax and grease remover one more time, and then I'll mix up the paint, and right before we paint I'll hit it with a tack cloth. But we've got both sides ready to go. For the black, I don't think I'm going to worry about covering anything else because it's a small area and we're just going to hit it. By the way, I've got this foam in between here to seal that up, and everything else is sealed except for this one area, so we should be all set for black. We are wax and grease removed. I'm going to pull out a tack cloth here so it's ready to go. It's not going to take much. So I don't want to waste a whole lot because we have other things that we're going to need to paint black. Speedo Coat Jet Black. Really want to thank these guys for working well with us out of Dayton, Ohio, and Columbus. We'll mix this up, and again, fast activator. Hey, what's up? It's Future Biff, and I'm jumping in here because I screwed up what just about happened in this video. I used activator with my base coat for the black, and that ain't right. It's reducer. And so that means I need to try to get the black off and redo that. So what you're gonna see here is what I'm doing now to turn it black the correct way. But before I can do that, I gotta remove the black that I put on there with activator that's not firming up. And so just ignore the fact that the truck already looks a lot better than when you just saw it. We'll get to that after I get these black again, and then you'll see how we got to this point. our primed, scuffed, wax and grease removed, and tack cloth taped off, ready to go. We've got our right urethane grid reducer this time, fast acting to go with our 65-degree temp in here. We've got our black base coat. We're going to do small amounts because it isn't going to take much. Really small area, probably about 2 coats is about it. Okay, boy, I'm feeling a lot more confident with this better Harbor Freight gun than the one we did before. That went down really nice. I think the second coat is going to be good. I came at it from the left side and the right side to make sure I got the edges both in the middle and on the sides. And I think that worked pretty good. So next time we'll do the same thing and then maybe one across the top, and that should give us plenty of coat that we need. All right, guys, this is proof that sometimes it pays to do the job right, even if that means going back and redoing your screw-ups. And this is proof in the pudding there, because this turned out so much better than it was previously, and I was trying to convince myself to live with it. Okay, so we got 2 or 3 coats of filler primer on all of the spots that we have the body filler. So we're gonna be good to let that dry, hit it with some guide coat and block it out, make sure we're nice and level everywhere. A couple little runs with the primer, so I'll get to sand those out too. But for the most part, we're looking good. And on to the next phase, block sanding. I want to show you real quick how good this guide coat works. So you can see right here where I'm sanding, where I've got the body filler and the primer, and those are perfectly smooth. But as you come along here and you're sanding, and then you see a dark spot like that where I've hit the primer, but I haven't gotten it level yet with where the body filler is, we know we need to keep sanding these, and that's why you use guide coat. It works like a champ and gives us that perfect smooth finish when we're done. And then you can see on the finished product here where we've gotten all the guide coat out of there, and in some places there's still a little bit of primer left over the top of it, and that's because that leveled it out. So we have this perfectly smooth texture. You also want to make sure you get rid of your tape line over here. If you got tape to keep, like I did, to keep paint from getting in here, it'll be built up there, and you need to make sure you sand that off and feather it down so that it doesn't end up with a lift there under your paint. We are bodywork and wet sanding complete, and I gotta say, man, this feels good. I think we did a great job. I do want something on there because there are some that, like I say, that body filler where it shows through, I don't want it soaking up that paint at a different rate. Last thing I need to do is pull off the running boards so that I can get underneath the edges of the doors there for that shot. Again, don't plan on painting the rockers, but definitely the under part of the door that curves under. So kind of cold outside. I think it's about 38, 40 degrees. So I'm hesitant to open the garage door just yet. So I'm gonna go ahead and get those running boards real quick, and then we will go ahead and open up and start getting everything washed off. It is time to get this place and this truck cleaned up. So I'm gonna fire up the air compressor, start blowing dust around everywhere. Luckily, it's another nice day, so I just opened up the garage doors and we can blast all of this out of here, and then I'll get to washing the truck and then the floor and then covering everything up. and bagging the truck. Whew. It's a lot of work. Okay guys, so that is it. The truck is sanded, prepped, cleaned, painted on the black stripes. The garage is clean. The dust has all been removed. So now we are done with this part of the prep. I hope you enjoyed our mess ups and coming back and fixing them the way they should have been fixed. But if you want to come back and see this thing turn silver, it's going to happen in the next episode. So we will be bagging it and getting it all prepped up and ready and creating our semi-paint booth here in the garage and making this thing shine in its original glory. So please come back, like and subscribe, click the bell so you get your notifications, and we'll see you again real soon. Take care.